How's everyone doing today? This is Noah with the Life of the Zigs, coming back at you with another video on how to build that fireplace floating mantle and a bench top for your fireplace. So let's get started. So to start off here, I just want to say you need to check out my other video on how I built this shiplap fireplace so I could hang up this floating mantle and this bench top. It's a good video on how I did it. I had an original shiplap fireplace that I didn't like so much. I tore that down and rebuilt this one, and I think it turned out a whole lot better. So make sure to check that out. I'll put it down in the description below. Now getting into the actual building of the mantle, I used a 1 by 6 by 8 foot long piece of pine. I got 2 boards, and then I also used a 1 by 4 by 8 piece of pine, and that's for the front. Right here I'm cutting 45-degree angles in the wood, which is going to allow for that seamless look and make it look like it's an actual solid piece of wood, because that's what I wanted to achieve here. I wanted a rustic, solid looking piece of wood, but I didn't want to pay a couple $100s to get that. Also, they're extremely heavy to mount. Now I'm cutting another 45-degree angle on the side of the board, and I'll repeat this step on the other side of the board. The back of that 1 by 6, you don't need to do anything because that's going to go up against the wall. Right here, I'm measuring that front piece to have it perfectly the same length as the 2 top and bottom pieces. You make that cut there. I'd already put the 45-degree cuts in that piece. It just made it easier. And then now I'm cutting another 45 on the edge here to, again, create that seamless look that you will see here in a sec. Now I got all my cuts made on my 3 boards. I'm just going to line them up and make sure that they're perfectly flush on the sides. Once the boards are all lined up and the joints butted together, I'm going to take some painter's tape and put it on multiple different spots throughout the board, because what you're going to do here, which you're going to see in a sec, is you're going to fold it all together, and that painter's tape creates that nice tight seam when it all pushes together. Right here's the moment of truth. I'm going to flip it all together and test close it. Make sure that it does close evenly and smoothly and that there's not too big gaps or cracks anywhere, which this can be hard to do, but with a little patience you can get it done. Now that it's all test fitted and it shuts nicely, all I need to do now is put some wood glue in all those crevices. Make sure to load it on there. I actually did not put enough wood glue on, and the reason I say that is you want to load it on there so much that it seeps out the cracks in the front, and this will cover up any inconsistencies you had with those 45-degree cuts. Because then what I actually had to do later is go back in and fill in some of those gaps with wood filler, which took some time and it was a pain. So just load it up with that wood glue and you won't have to do what I did and fill it back in. Once you have all that glue applied, flip it back up together and put a couple more pieces of painter's tape on it to hold it nice and sturdy. Once you get that done, take your pin nailer and shoot some pin nails into it. This just kind of holds that all together while the wood glue is setting. The wood glue is going to be the actual strength of the mantle itself. The pin nails just, like I said, hold it in place while that glue is setting. And it's not a huge gap, so you don't need to fill in the pin nails or anything because they're so small. Now that that part of the mantle is together, I need to make the 2 end pieces for the mantle. This was pretty easy. I took that leftover 1 by 4 I had and cut another 45 in it, and then cut the right length of it and slapped it in place once I glued it, and then I pin nailed it in place and put some painter's tape around it just to make sure it was nice and snug in there. Then once you do that, make sure you do the other side as well, as I don't show it here because it's just the same exact process repeated. Once that's all done, give it a day or 2 to dry, and then you need to start sanding. Like I said, I had to use that wood filler to fill in some of those gaps and cracks, which I'm sanding down. Also, you should be sanding down your wood with, I believe it's a 220 grit sandpaper, just to remove any imperfections. And I wanted to give it that rough, rustic look. So as you see here, all those edges, I'm using that sander just to get those edges a little rounded and give it more of that wear and tear look, which is what we wanted to achieve here with this mantle. One problem I did have with the mantle is on the back side, a little bit of the wood was uneven, so as you see there, I'm just sanding all that down and making it flush, and then make sure you go test it and put it up against a flat surface to make sure you're not going to have any crazy gaps or cracks in the back there. After all that's done, we've finally gotten to the bench top. This bench top is from Lowe's. It's a Lowe's project panel. I believe it's 24 inches wide and 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch thick. It's just pine that's all glued together. I like these project panels a lot. They save you time from having to put your own wood together, and I really like that pine look because it was going to match the pine I had for the mantel. When it came to actually staining the wood, I chose to use Minwax Wood Effect stain that was in the charred black look. I felt like it gave it that rustic look, and it kind of went with our theming of the house. Minwax also sells this in multiple other colors as well as multiple other stains. It was super easy to apply. All you need is a synthetic bristled brush. I used a 2-inch wide brush because I had a lot of wood to cover, and you just dip it in and paint it on. There's no specific way to paint it on. It just says just even brush strokes and make sure that it soaks into the wood good. One thing to note though is that it will stain your floor. For example, I have a concrete floor as you can see here, and it did splatter and stain the floor. Not a big deal for me because it's my garage. However, if you're doing this inside or somewhere, definitely cover up your floor with some cardboard or something like that because it will easily seep through stuff. You can get this stain as well as all the other tools you need on Amazon, which I'll make sure to link down in the description below. While that stain was drying, which usually takes about an hour, I mounted up the 2x2, which was going to hold the mantel up. I used screws and screwed it into the studs, and it just slides on there when the time comes. Now I'm sanding down the wood. Like I said, it took an hour to dry, and it recommends that you sand it again after you stain it. Once that's done, you take your Minwax polyacrylic water-based top coat and you go ahead and apply the first coat of that. It recommends 3 coats with this. I actually did 4 coats, and the reason I did 4 coats was I applied 3 coats and the finish was a little grainy. They do recommend you sand in between coats. However, I have done it with projects in the past where I don't sand in between, and basically all I do is brush it on, wait the hour to 2 hours that it recommends to dry, and then I brush it on again. However, it was super grainy for whatever reason, so after that 3rd coat I took the sander, sanded it down again, and applied that 4th coat, which made it look really good. It made it look crystal clear, which I did choose the glossiest finish they have. However, they also have it in ultra flat, matte, semi-gloss, satin, and then like I said, gloss. It's really up to you what finish you want to choose. I like the gloss look because it adds some depth to it and a nice layer of protection, but it's all up to you in the end. The one nice thing with choosing a water-based top coat is that the odor is super low and cleanup is a lot easier than having an oil-based top coat. And once you get your finish applied and get it as glossy or as flat as you like, just let it dry for at least a full day so it's not sticky or anything, and then go ahead and mount it up. When it came to mounting up the mantel, I just slid that directly over the 2x2 piece of wood, and then I pre-drilled holes in it and used screws to set it in place. All the weight is resting on the wood itself that you mounted to the wall. These screws just hold the mantel in place and prevent it from sliding off the wood. Then when it came to mounting the bench top, I just put some construction adhesive on and stuck it down to that. I did put some weights on it, which I don't show here, but the weights just help it sit down in place nice and firm, and then I caulked all around the edges to make that nice seamless look. And once that's done, you're finished. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a lot as I did through this whole process. Overall, this cost me about $150 between the 2 projects to do, and took about 3 a couple hour days a piece as stuff needed to dry and set. Please remember to hit that subscribe button, guys, as it helps the channel out, and also leave a like and a comment. Let me know how I did and if you had any better ideas to get this project done. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.